Hi guys, Iron Cameraman here. Maybe while watching Skibidi Toilet, you've often had the thought that every time something unusual happens, we try to explain it with something simple. But over time, it turns out the reason was far from as trivial as it seemed at first. Let me give you the most recent example so you understand what I mean. Let's take episode 43, for instance. The TV men didn't teleport the agents and quickly ran away as soon as they realized their hypnosis didn't work on enemies who wear glasses. In episode 56, the story repeated itself. The TV man didn't take the POV cameraman with him and teleported alone, leaving the others to face potential death. And in episode 76, the TV men deliberately teleported the remains of the fallen Astro toilets, leaving the agents behind, essentially confirming once again that rescuing others is not part of their duty. Even the TV woman acts the same, although with a sad expression. At first, many thought all this was a sign that they were bad, evil, or, according to another popular theory, future traitors. Of course, there was some truth to that. But in reality, their privileged position and behavior are more of a consequence than a cause. After we saw what happened with the capture of the TV man Titan in episode 78, it became clear. All this time, whenever there was the slightest threat, the TV men would leave the battlefield because losing even one of them is a catastrophe. It means instant loss of communication, intel, logistics, and therefore a huge risk to the entire alliance. That's why they are valued more than the other agents. Their main task is not to be captured. Military objectives always come first, and only after that, rescue and logistics. Their race is extremely small in number, and each fighter is expected to perform at maximum efficiency. Without strict regulations and rules, that's impossible to achieve. And I could give you tons of examples where minor details later lead to very interesting plot twists. Basically, anyone can take an event that already happened and spend 10 hours talking about what led up to it in previous episodes. I'm not exactly revealing anything groundbreaking. Breaking down things after the fact is definitely cool. But to me, predicting plot twists before they happen, now that's even cooler. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. And I'm not even going to beg you for likes. Let's just agree. If you genuinely enjoy the video, don't forget to support it with a like. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, here we go. There's one detail in episode 78 that hardly anyone talks about. At first glance, it seems too minor to even mention. That's why I'm sure you'll be surprised when you find out what it led me to. So, let's begin. If you look closely, the camera toilet's helmet has a glowing paw on it. The paw is basically a symbol of the Juggernaut army. Some people might say, so what? That helmet just belonged to one of the Juggernauts, and the Alliance found it on the battlefield and decided to use it. But I'm not questioning who the helmet belonged to. That part is obvious. What matters is, the owner of that helmet is already dead. And let me remind you, Juggernaut, to put it mildly, is not happy when something happens to his children. If you've seen this video of mine, you know his army consists of two types of soldiers. The first type are his direct descendants, or those who belong to the same race as him. The second, those who joined him from other races after their planets were conquered. If you recall G-Man's line from season 25,
I would hate for your children to become parentless.
It becomes clear that Juggernaut has a massive number of biological children, and what's more, all of them are tracked by radar so he can monitor their location. I discovered this by rewatching season 25. In the updated version of episode 75, subtitles were added that clearly state this. What's even more important, if in the first version of that episode it looked like Juggernaut could see through walls and spot all beings, in the new context it becomes clear. He sees only his children. So, in addition to the radar, his helmet has a special sensor that lets him detect his offspring even through any obstacles. Let's be honest, it would be pretty strange if such a radar and sensor were installed in every soldier of the Juggernaut army. So I believe this technology only works on his biological children. That's why, when the hunter was in danger, Juggernaut didn't show up, simply because he didn't sense any threat to one of his own. The hunter got lucky and managed to escape on his own. Now take a look at another scene from episode 75. The explosion that happened when Skibidi Woman flew off with the POV cameraman was bright red. Judging by the sound, all the debris in the air, and the fact that they literally pulled the POV cameraman out of a pile of rubble, It's pretty obvious. The explosion destroyed part of the city. And now remember the scene from episode 78 where Hugo Boss sees different locations in the smoke, ones that happened either in the past or the future. When the big TV man talks about the past, we see the moment he was turned into a hybrid. But when it's about the future, we see a city destroyed by a powerful red explosion. Ring any bells? You might say it's just a coincidence, but probably not. That red glow wasn't there in the first version of episode 75, which means Mr. Boom deliberately changed the episode and added that visual effect. And if that's the case, then it's pretty clear. Hugo Boss in the future is one of the witnesses to that explosion. Now let me put all the pieces together so you can see where I'm going with this. If it turns out that the original owner of that helmet was Juggernaut's biological son, then the consequences for the poor Camera Toilet and the entire Alliance will be brutal. He just doesn't know it yet. But Juggernaut, he already does. By the way, I have an alternate version of this story. Maybe it's a bit less likely, but it sounds awesome, and I couldn't help but share it. If you think about it, a single helmet could trigger a chain of events that completely destroys the fragile hope of an alliance between Juggernaut and the rest of the Alliance. But G-Man will probably try to prevent that. He values Juggernaut too much as an old friend and probably won't want to fight him directly, especially if the Speakermen Armada, led by the upgraded Speaker Titan, shows powerful results against the Astro. That would give them confidence that they can handle things alone. And considering the relationship between the Speakermen and the TV men was never great, and with the Skibidi Toilets even worse, it's pretty clear where this could lead. We might be facing a new split, but this time, not among enemies, like with the Astro and the Skibidi Toilets, but within the Alliance itself. On one side, the Cameramen and the Speakermen. On the other, the TV men, the Secret Team, the Skibidi Toilets, and Juggernaut's army. Of course, maybe I'm digging too deep. This already feels more like a future story arc that will start after the victory over the Astro. And then, we might hear something like, "We used to think the worst was behind us, but it turns out it was only the beginning." While I was writing the script, some interesting info popped up from Strider. He was answering subscriber questions in chat, and a few of them were about his involvement in making episode 78. Yes, for those who don't know, he really did help Mr. Boom. It's mentioned directly in the episode description. Turns out, Strider created the map itself and designed almost all of the upgraded Speaker men. Though, for example, the Executor's head wasn't made by him, and some other elements were later changed as well. He also pitched a couple of animation ideas. There's no detail on that, but it's cool that his contribution wasn't limited to just design. Someone also asked about the round device used by the Astro Toilets, and Strider even dropped a 3D model of that item as an image. But the most interesting part, the question about 60 FPS, Strider's answer was pretty unexpected. He himself doesn't understand how Mr. Boom managed to render the project at such quality and frame rate. According to him, Boom is clearly using some kind of secret computer, because even Strider, being an experienced animator, can't explain how it's possible to handle a project with 500 light sources and more than 1,000 particles. I'm not an expert either, but I've had a bit of experience in Blender and SFM, and I can assure you, packing all that into one project and rendering it successfully is no easy task. There's definitely a secret agent involved here. No other explanation. Just like we agreed at the start of the video, if you liked it, drop a like and of course subscribe to the channel. I've got even crazier theories lined up for the next video. See you next time.